I want to read a comment from a retail trader, just so you guys know, from my perspective, what people are thinking and what people are saying on along, as far as the management team. This is really important, and I feel like I want to try to be a voice of the average retail trader, rather than my own opinions and thoughts. So I just want to read this. They said, somebody told me to tell you, let them know that their holders have been listening and watching and reviewing, and are thankful for you guys differentiating yourselves from meme stocks to a true value hold stock. And we are looking forward in the coming months and years. We appreciate their transparency, as we are aware of the restrictions they face on sharing many of their projects to the world. And despite that, they provide constant updates and comments and involvement with us. And I think that's super important because, AMC is great. I love the movie theaters. Totally support that company regardless of this. But they don't have the only CEO on the block that realizes that retail has power in the markets, and it's important to have a retail presence and a backing. So enough of my soapbox. I just wanted to get that out there because I wanted to try to relay that message, because I thought that was very important to Phunware and the new retail presence. Did you have something, Randall?
No, first and foremost, thank you for your service, and honestly, thank you for saying that. I mean, to anybody on this call, does not work for Phunware, not a plant. It is who he says he is, and so, this is the first time, you and I have had a chance to talk,
Yep.
and I couldn't, I can say that kind of from my perspective. You have, so, for me to be involved in this company, I knew Alan back in 2009, but I wasn't full time at Phunware until about 4 years ago, and it would have taken a special company and a special person and a special team for me to do that. And I think that that's something that gets lost in today's markets. Everybody's looking at ticker symbols, they're looking at memes, and they forget about the people, that make these companies great. Companies aren't great on their own right. It's people doing great things on behalf of a company. And I got to tell you, on average, our C-level team has known each other for over 9 years. We've been through it all together. We've seen it all together. You want people like that, kind of in your foxhole when all hell is breaking loose. Our average employee tenure is 6 years. I mean, it's 5.5 now because we just did this light acquisition. But it's incredible trying to retain that kind of talent that we have on our team, in a tech company, and that's because we're not doing something for tomorrow. We're doing something for 5 years from now, 10 years from now. This is like a monumental opportunity, and it's a big swing for the fences, and that's different than AMC or GameStop. I love retail flexing their muscle and keeping a lot of institutions that do a lot of bad things, and they do it on the backs of retail. Unfortunately, they're just really good at what they do, to mess with retail traders. And GameStop was kind of a wake-up call for a lot of them. But let's be honest, GameStop's an outdated business model. AMC is a very well-established business model. We're doing something that could usher in an entirely new way of thinking about how you engage with the technology around you. This is the future. And so it's really unique from, I think, a lot of the meme stocks. And, I think our transparency and our, accessibility as a management team is also very important. And I think a lot of people, whether it's crypto or other companies, have gotten burned because, management isn't available, to retail traders. They sit in an ivory tower, and we don't want to be that. We're trying to build something for people. And so we need to be accessible to the people we're building it for. And so I really just wanted to say thank you for your comments. It means a lot.
Yeah, one thing I was going to add, if I could, to this, because
Sure.
I think it's super important. And the reason, I'm kind of sitting here scrambling between all the meetings and airports, like all of you out there matter to Randall, me, our team, and our board immensely. Trust me, I know what it's like to start from zero. My father was a mason. I learned how to do very hard manual labor as a kid. None of my parents got a chance to go to college. But I'm the youngest of 3 boys, but our parents taught us is, hey, we don't have a lot, but this is the greatest country in the world. You can absolutely be and do anything you want, but you better get off your ass. You better not be lazy. And, if you can be lucky instead of good, great. But if you can be both, you're going to have immense opportunities. And the communication style we've had, and Randall can attest to this because he was one of the first checks into Phunware as an angel when I was a part of the Central Texas Angel Network. Thought I was moving from California to Austin to invest. And the serial entrepreneur bug got the better of me. The operational part got the better of me. But I started meeting people in Austin, and this is back in 2008. You know, I left California after 12 years because it was getting kind of insane to me back then. And I wanted to relocate, raise my kids, and see what was next for me in Austin. And so it was a great move. But early on, I met a lot of people who were angels, and I met a lot of people who invested. And I met one group, and honestly, this one group, they never understood what I was talking about. You know, I said, hey, don't worry, I'm going to schedule another hour. We'll sit down. We're going to go through this from A to Z. I want you to understand everything. And they're like, you know, we've gone through, we've heard you, you know, we would like to make an initial investment of $1 million. And I said, well, okay, but I don't feel comfortable with that because I want you to know, you know, what we're doing, who we're doing. And they said something I'll never forget. They just looked at me and they said, we want to invest in you because you don't sound like anyone else we meet here ever. And it sort of stunned me at the time to think like, that's really strange because I realized the difference between building a company in Austin, Texas versus when I built it in Silicon Valley and was fortunate to, you know, sell the first several companies, one to Cisco Systems, one to Telverse Communications, which was a derivative of that business. And then we sold another one to Internet Security Systems on NASDAQ before IBM bought them. But what I realized is that, you know, this big vision you mentioned earlier when I told you about it, you're right. I couldn't believe as a serial entrepreneur who had done very well, when I first pitched this to VCs on Sand Hill Road and everywhere else, when you say I'm going to have a firmware ID for every human being on earth with a device touching a network, and they looked at me like I was insane. Like, and I've done this many, many times. And I had to accept the fact that that was hard for them to bite into, that we could really do that. And the vision was too big. But, you know, the difference between Austin and Silicon Valley on building and how you communicate with investors is just profoundly different. In Austin, you try to win the city of Austin, to win Central Texas, to win Texas, to win the Midwest, to win the United States, and then you go global. In Silicon Valley, you say, I'm going to create a new market that never existed. I'm going to dominate the market worldwide with the biggest percent possible. And then because I won the world, oh, by the way, I'm going to win the United States, the Midwest, Texas, Central Texas, and of course, Austin by default, because I already won the world. And that's a very different way to communicate. So what we did privately for 10 years, we had something called the Funware Flash Report, and we would send out a full update once every month to every investor, whether they invested, you know, $25,000 or $1 million or $2 million, and everyone got full open transparency. The first time we had to really stop doing that was when we signed the LOI to go public with the SPAC. And then, as you know, you start dealing with the SEC and everything has to change. So I told my investors way back when, if you ever hear me shut up, if I'm just quiet, know there's probably something good happening and there's a reason why I'm being quiet, but I just absolutely otherwise wouldn't shut up, right? So that was kind of the interesting thing that we went through. And I will tell you that when we just did the at-the-market offering, we had institutions crawling all over us, Randall especially, our CFO, and everyone wanted to suddenly, you know, work with us. And we had a choice because we had raised some money, 25 million, real early in the year. We picked 3 investors. It was like 8.33 million each. And what we realized is, while that was great that we raised that 25 million, we get 3 investors, and really, what do they do as institutions? They flip the stock, or they really don't have their heart in it, or they're focused on the financial structure, not like who we are, what we do, why it matters, like what we're trying to change in the world. And so this time around, like Randall and I and our CFO just said, you know what, like, screw this. Like, we're not going to take any of this to Wall Street. Like, we're going to completely ignore it. We're going to go directly to retail, who I believe dive in and do deeper homework than most institutions, who tend to know more about the teams and the people, because at the end of the day, the people are all that matters, no matter what you invest in. And then they're actually have stronger diamond hands, people that actually know how to buy and hold. They know how to average in when you're getting volatility. They're trained like people who buy and hold Bitcoin. They're trained to realize, like, Wall Street is full of a bunch of crap, There is so much manipulation in trading. I could write encyclopedias about Reg SHO and naked shorting. I remember calling NASDAQ to ask them if we still had a two-sided market in America, because our biggest complaint when we first went public was, why can I hold funware? Why can I sell funware, but nobody will let me buy the stock? And I'm like, we're a NASDAQ security. What the hell is going on here? And so we appreciate, it's amazing how all the circuit breakers kick in when the stock is going up in value. It's amazing how nothing really kicks in when it's dropping in value. It's amazing when you see phantom one-share trades and programmed high-frequency trading. And so we too, our persona is, I care about people, personal sovereignty, the separation of the wealth and state, freedom, liberty, informed consent, personal choice, all of that. That's America to me. That's what Bitcoin is as well. And those are the ideals, not unsurprisingly, that 2X Army Rangers care about. And we're going to be authentic and genuine. I know there's times where I tweet things and it upsets people. I want truth. I want reality. I want people who don't lie. I'm sick of the propaganda. I'm sick of the narrative. I'm sick of big tech deciding how to censor or amplify that which helps or hurts. And the press, and we were guilty of this, we had articles written about funware in general and me specifically and others on my team, and it pissed us off. They were make-believe stories. Not one bit was factually accurate, but that wasn't the point. The point was to cancel. The point was to destroy. The point was to cause damage, because we had the nerve to license software and the use of our platform to Donald Trump. And that's ridiculous. That's not America. And so what you're going to find is we value retail first and foremost. We value freedom, liberty. We value independence. We value families. We value things of how to care for the people that work for us and the people that invest. Those of you who are long, we're going to kill ourselves fighting to make sure you win, because I've never had anyone not win with something that I've been involved in. And people like Randall, we don't lose. But people that are shorting us and think we're full of shit, and they've already told us we were going to, die 50 times over, and it's all a joke, and all these attacks from funds and everything else. We said, bring it. Like, you're our enemy. We're going to make it very clear, and we're here to financially blow you up. And we work through the weekends and the holidays, and today's Friday, 2 working days from Monday, and we'll make ourselves accessible to you all as much as humanly possible. And I say that having been remarried. I now have 7 kids, 6 were in college. And it's hard when you're running a company and you watch people make up things that are very damaging. And then you're having to face your children who are reading these things and like, Dad, what is this? And I'm saying, well, we unfortunately had the nerve to license software to a group that a whole other group doesn't like. And therefore, they need to figure out how to cause damage to funware or cause damage to me. And you shouldn't have to go through that. And so that's going to be the battle we're going to fight. So every now and then I'll apologize in advance if I upset anybody who has a different political viewpoint or a different perspective. I care about the truth. I think all of us out there are grown up enough to handle reality and the truth. And whether that's the truth about COVID, climate, education, life, like, we love what we do for the company, but this is all about people and education and the next generation. And we need to make better legislative, monetary, and fiscal choices. So that's going to be who we are. I'm always going to be authentic. If you disagree with me, that's fine. If you agree, that's great too. But we should be able to have communications. We should be able to have disagreements. And that doesn't mean you're a bad person or I'm a bad person. That means that we need to get back to reality where everyone doesn't have to, be in the oppression Olympics and fighting with each other to see who can be more of a victim. I don't think this country is racist. I think there's problems like anything in the world that needs to be addressed. But the idea that everyone on this call is inherently racist and hate each other, I don't buy it. And I tell everyone constantly, there's red ants and black ants, and they live their life. Then sometimes people put red ants and black ants in a jar, and they're still fine. And then someone shakes up the jar, and all of the red and black ants are fighting to the death. And I tell people what you should really start asking is who put the red and black ants in the jar and who's shaking the damn jar and what are they doing and how much theft is going on in broad daylight through inflation and bills and all this ridiculous spending for money we don't have while they're trying to get all of us to fight amongst ourselves. And that's just the nature of what we're going to focus on, and we're going to try to call attention to that. And we really appreciate and value each of you from the bottom of our heart.